Right?
Yeah,
After years.
after years of.
After years of whining.
Yeah, I know.
Had a problem. He had a problem with me.
Her
So,
sister.
yeah.
Yep. All right, I will call this meeting of the Missouri Valley Complex Committee to order. And I am, or also I want to stand and say the pledges, but that's not a thing. Auditor Sliskowski, do you call the order, or is that typically Steve New?
That would be Steve's job.
So is that something that I should do in his absence, or do you have a list?
If you don't mind doing it, that'd be great.
Yeah, I can certainly do that.
We're gonna need to take minutes.
I'll take him for, I'll take him.
Yeah.
Okay,
And Steve
it's not
said that he
okay.
would watch the
Okay.
video back and do minutes as well too, so. Kevin Whitcomb. Tom Peters,
Here.
Scott Olson,
Here.
Justin Goverlow,
Here.
Commissioner Jeske. Commissioner Munson. Marie Horning,
Here.
Wayne Martinezson,
Here.
Alan Heim. Steve New. Missy Hildendigger.
Here.
And Tyler
Krolichek.
Kralichek, I was gonna go there, yep. Tyler Kralichek. And myself is also present. I believe that establishes a forum and we move into our business for the meetings. I believe the minutes of the April 24th, 2024 meeting were emailed out as well as included in your packets. I will provide a few seconds here for any review and would entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the previous meeting.
I would move that the minutes from the April 24th, 2024 meeting be approved.
I'll
second it.
Okay. We have a first and a second approval of the April 2024 minutes as provided, April 24th. And yeah. 20, actually, it is the 23rd, so. 30.
I would.
What was it?
I would move to I have to amend my motion.
Yep,
I would move to amend my motion to change it to the approval of the minutes of April 23rd, 2020.
right, the minutes are correct, we haven't, and agenda is incorrect, so we're still, I think your initial motion would be just fine. So we have a motion to approve the minutes of April 23rd that have been provided and a second, all in favor, aye. All opposed signify with the same sign. All right, approval of the minutes from the April 23rd Missouri Valley Complex Committee meeting. The third item on our agenda is updates from Commissioner Munson. However, in his absence, I think we will skip on. I should also note that I was aware that Steve New is not going to be available, and we've just identified that Commissioner Auditor Blonskowski is taking notes in his stead. So item 3, we will table and come back to.
Madam Chairman.
Yes.
In item 3 there, have they leased that land out? I was understanding they weren't gonna lease that land out this year.
I'm unaware if auditor you have info. I know that that's something that Commissioner Munson was going to bring to the table as well.
So, at the previous commission meeting, we did receive one bid for the agricultural land out there. And it was the former renter who was renting it already. And the commission did go ahead and authorize that to be rented out on a 1-year basis.
1 year.
1 year only. Yep, and so if the commission chooses to go ahead and put it out for bids again next year, we'd have to put it out for bids and do it all over again, but it's only on a 1-year basis.
Because we had a question to extend our parking lot on the east side there a little bit. So it's gonna take a little bit of their property.
Yes, so, and depending on how you wanna do it, at least on because I did notice that, and I was aware of that issue. And I don't know if you guys wanna extend it to the south, because the property line, if you look on aerial photos, the actual property line the area that has been farmed crosses that property line and then goes back into their own property line. And so if they wanted to extend that to the south, the parking area, that definitely could be done, so long as the farmer was able to only go on the property line itself.
I'd like to extend it a little bit to the east where on the north end, so it's squares up to, it goes at an angle, I believe.
It does. And that would be something that would have to be presented to the commission, so long as,
Before he sees it.
the sooner the better. Yep.
Rest of those items, again, I will wait and see if Commissioner Munson is here. Item number 4, Bismarck Planning Department presentation on the planned unit development of the complex and the public zoning option. Welcome, Daniel, is it Nairn?
That's correct.
All right.
Am I on here? Okay. I don't know if I need this enough, but, so good afternoon, committee. Your chair, Steve New, had asked me to give a little bit of background on the zoning for this site and some options that you may want to consider. We also met with Commissioner Munson a few months ago in our department, and he gave us a little bit of a briefing on some of the things you're considering. And we can certainly give you some ideas for how you may want to proceed. The site, as you probably are aware, is currently zoned planned unit development. So this is a zoning district that we use. It's really a catch-all district that's customized to specific plans for the area. In this case, there was a plan adopted in 2001, a master plan that Burleigh County had created, and by 2005, that plan was instilled into the PUD zoning for this site, and I think 2006 is when it was adopted by the city commission. It's been amended a number of times, and so the way the PUDs work is they spell out pretty specifically what goes on inside of that district. This particular PUD didn't have a site plan per se that really put things in specific locations. It just stated, these are the uses that will be here. These are some of the perimeter landscaping requirements. These are some of the parking requirements, and it's sort of spelled out in the PUD. It was changed most recently in 2014, but it was changed 4 times, 2006, 9, 13, 14. When the detention center was built, that was the last change. That site is actually also part of the PUD as well. Now, in our zoning district, we have a couple of different options. So there is a P public district that are very common for sites such as this one that are owned by a government entity, in this case, Burleigh County. So the Capitol Grounds is a P public district. There's BFC campus, Bismarck State College campus. So there's college campuses, a lot of cemeteries, parks, schools are all P public, and those districts are a little more open-ended, as long as they're owned by a government entity and operated basically in the public interest for public use. It can be utilized. Now, I did dig a little bit into the history of this. There was a request for a P public district on this site, and maybe some of you were around or aware of this. I was not. But prior to the PUD, and that was denied by the Planning Commission at that time, or recommended for denial. I couldn't quite figure out exactly what some of the reasonings for that were. I did see some notes that there were concerns about some of the more intensive uses that would be allowed in P public, like a landfill or a sewage treatment plant or something, and maybe concerns that would allow those kinds of uses. So at that time, it was opted to go to the PUD. Now, you may also consider, if there are portions of the site that you or Burleigh County would not ultimately own and maybe sold off for other uses too. That's something to consider. I know there has been discussion about in the northeastern portion of the site, along Midwest Drive, if some private development would occur there. That could be done as well, and that would just need to be rezoned to MA Industrial would be the most likely candidate, and that's the Midwest Motors Business Park. To the east is a conditional MA industrial district, so that could fit along that side too. It all depends on really what your plans are. I believe there may be an intent to replat this area. The plat was done in 2005, and that's really what sets the lots and the access easements and the various boundaries of the district. That could be redone, and now the way the process works is the plating and the zoning usually go hand in hand. They go at the same time through the process, and we kind of look at both together, and they're voted and approved together. So that is something you may consider in this as well. But mostly I just wanted to be here to answer any questions you have. I think you've been looking at this are much more attuned to what you want to do, and I can help answer those questions if you'd like.
Daniel, I do have one question. I've heard there's a little bit of chatter on this issue. I think this is one of the many battle lines between the county and the city. Do you understand, as far as this particular property is concerned, what those disagreements are and what has been proposed to fix them? Or are you kind of just getting up to speed right now?
So, I guess I'm not really aware what those are. I think, it's inside of city limits, it's owned by the county. In our meeting with Commissioner Munson, we, at least from a staff level, and I should state this upfront, I forgot to, but I can only speak on behalf of our staff position on any of these matters. As you probably are aware, all zoning does go through the public process, public hearings, the whole 9 yards, legal ads. So we can't predict what any change would be, and the city commission would make that final decision. Our meeting with Commissioner Munson, at least at a staff level, we're open to any changes you'd wish to see, and the P Public District would be very much aligned with other P Public Districts around our community. It would allow a greater degree of flexibility. I don't think as at a staff level, we're too concerned with the sewage treatment plant or anything showing up here, but there is also the possibility of a condition being added to a district. So that's a little bit, it's like a PUD. However, the way a conditional district would work, if you were to rezone to a P Public District, you could state basically P Public in all respects, except we're not going to do X, Y, Z, and just basically adjusting it a little bit, which may be more advantageous than a new plan unit development, because you don't have to lock yourself down that much. So those are some possibilities. Maybe there's been some questions about access points along East Main Avenue. I guess I have heard a little bit of that.
One thing.
Okay, yeah, I guess I can't really speak for the engineering side of things, but yeah.
How long, so with this plan unit development, let's say we wanted to put, I'm gonna call it a concession stand, like what's that, Cottonwood, down by the outdoor arena. We want to do that. So with the plan unit development, would that currently be allowed? Because it's probably was never in the plan in the beginning. Like, do we need to work on changing to public in order to do anything out there, I guess is maybe what my question is? Or can it just stay PUD and we go about our business and?
So, yeah, I mean, it depends on what you would like to do. I mean, the PUD does have a number of things spelled out, even crop maze, all sorts of things were anticipated at the time and listed in here. However, I don't know about a concession stands. I'd have to kind of look more closely to see if that is noted in here, but it really does, it makes it harder to make those changes on the fly, because if it's not in here and you would like to do it, you would need to come back and amend it, which is what happened a number of times. The P Public District would allow a concession stand. For maybe a good example would be Sertoma Park is all P Public. The zoo leases from the Parks District, I believe. So it's still owned by a public entity. But of course, there's concessions in there, Super Slide, Amusement Park. There's things that are private that are leasing from the public entity. So that would be acceptable in a P Public District.
Daniel, if we decide to move, we've gotten a couple of buildings that people want to donate to us. If we decide to move them onto Buck Stop Junction, what is the process that we have to go through to do that?
Okay, so yeah, as far as moving the buildings themselves, now Buck Stop Junction is already noted in the zoning, so that's no problems at all from a zoning perspective. I suppose maybe I'm not sure how building permits would fit for those. I mean, they're an existing building moving into the site. I maybe want to check with our inspections department on if they have criteria, or certainly moving a building, engineering does get involved in the public right of way and the use of that actual process of moving the building. I can't speak to the inspections of that, but I can speak to the zoning and state that shouldn't be an issue with zoning today.
When it comes to if we decide as a group to move forward from PUD to P, obviously there is engineering and applications and all that. Who is the burden on for completing those items? Is that something that we would have to budget in? How would that process go?
So the applicant, in this case, the property owner, would make the application. Probably the largest burden would be the engineering and surveying involved in a replat. That's going to be the biggest kind of task. Now, that you don't have to do that. That's if you wish to change the lots, if you want to work within the lots as they are now, that's fine too. The zoning change, there is an application for that. Now when it comes to writing the PUDs, our city staff end up taking a lot of that, the actual writing task. So if you were to apply as the county, and just have what's called a written, I'm sorry, if you're going to P public, there's really nothing you need to do other than to ask for it, because it's, city staff would go through the process of course, doing all the legal ads and then writing the staff report and explaining the reasoning behind it. And so it'd be just basically a dialogue between the county and the city in that respect, but there really wouldn't be much work to do from the county side on that. The plat would be different though.
As I understand it, anybody around the table, correct me if I'm wrong, as I understand it, part of the conversations, and you might be privy to this, part of the conversations that have led us to the PUD versus P conversation has to do with getting an official site map out there where everything is laid out, including proposed new additions to the site. As I am aware, the county commission or certain commissioners have indicated that we do not have the support of the highway department from the county. Is that something that we would need to have get involved for engineering and site plan as we go down this?
Certainly. So if we do end up changing the plat and replatting, so the highway department, you must be referring to the Burley County.
Yes, mine.
Yeah, the Burley County Highway Department. This area is on the boundary lines. It is annexed. So the city engineering would be the ones reviewing the plat. Now, because I believe East Main is still north of here, is still county road, I believe. I'm not.
Main is city.
Okay. Okay.
Roundabout
Let's see. Okay, so then,
sides are still county, but the main road is city.
so unless I'm missing something, I think you would be working almost entirely with the city engineering department. Yeah, certainly, and yeah, you're correct. Now that you say that, that's absolutely right. So yeah, East Main is definitely city right of way. Expressway certainly is city right of way. And it's even annexed to the east of there. This Midwest Motors is annexed land as well. So I think it would be mostly working with city engineering. Of course, we talk all the time with county and city, and so at a staff level, there's always communication going on. But yeah, I think formally it'd be city engineering would be working with.
And maybe just follow up one thing that you said earlier, that there was a request for a P that was denied by P and Z in the past.
Yes.
And I heard you correctly, well, I'm not sure what the defining factors were on that. Are you concerned at all, or would your staff be able to guide us in the right direction should we decide to go there, that we wouldn't get those same questions or be able to circumvent them or work with them?
Sure. So, yeah, if staff would choose to support the P public, we do provide reasoning for that support, and we do advocate for our own position in this case. So Now, but as I said, I mean, it's an ultimate decision of the appointed or elected boards, so I can't speak to that. I can state that I have not personally heard any opposition to this idea in recent years, or let's just say in the last 9 years I've been here. So I think whatever this was early 2000s. Of course, it hasn't been asked. The question hasn't been asked, so we don't know if it will resurface.
I have a question. It may not be for you. If I'm looking at this document, is this the lots that are currently plotted? Is this correct?
So I printed out a copy
Yeah.
of the current plat. Here, I'll just hand it to you.
So that would be something like if we were, the only reason you'd even care to change any of this is if you're gonna make a new plot. If not, I mean, it's,
Yeah, I,
don't have to worry about.
I have
Yeah, why don't you?
Oh, yeah, that's okay.
It's some discussions that I've heard, and I think that this is kind of a twofold conversation, and we're bringing up a good point even with that map. As I understand it, there is a discussion going on about how to get that map updated. The one that you have, Marie, of all of the entities, the stakeholders and the future use plans, et cetera, out there. And that is where we've kind of met with a roadblock. We're not quite sure how this group is going to be able to move forward without the support of the Burley County Engineering or Highway Department.
Why do you need a new access point on the thing? Why wouldn't you put the access?
Well, I'm not even talking about the access point. I'm talking about the site plan in and of itself, but I don't believe, and Daniel can probably correct me if I'm wrong, that the plat and that site plan don't necessarily overlap, because that reflects leases, not necessarily land ownership plats.
I think you're correct on
Yeah,
that.
that's what I'm
yes.
saying, but. It's not dealing with an access point onto somewhere, what does it?
Access to engineering for the site plan,
Yeah,
above
but
and
what you wanna
beyond
put-
an access point or an approach or a culvert. What we're looking for is
That is
a plan to go forward.
Yeah.
From what I've heard with the county commissioners, they may not know exactly where all the underground utilities are, and they did some searching and mapping, and see if it matches either one of those maps.
Yeah.
And for all we know, it
Yeah.
matches neither. That's my understanding, that they really don't know. And so there's a lot of stuff that has to be done, and I think that the highway department portion of it is a matter of, can the complex utilize the highway department in a, on a contract basis,
Right.
basically, or would it be better to hire private engineering and private dirt work to figure these things out?
Right.
So with Bismarck coming and laying more infrastructure down there, their sewer pipeline, won't they be locating and doing all of that work, at least in their
In
area?
theory,
Will they? Does anyone know?
There's an easement that's
Yeah.
been granted for that area, yes.
Okay, it wouldn't necessarily cover the
It won't be the
entire
whole
property.
thing, because it seems like,
You would
I
have a
don't know
corridor
enough
there.
about that to know if like, we should already be partnering and being like, if they're getting an engineering farm, we just do whatever. And that would be up to us, that would be up to the county.
Yeah, and that's something that is a discussion that we need to have when Commissioner Munson, our liaison,
Yeah.
is around as well. So I know I'm the one that derailed this conversation, so I don't bring it back. Is there any other questions for Daniel as far as the PUD and the P zoning on the property, or anything else that you would like to add?
Yeah, maybe just to address.
Oh, yeah.
I think this diagram, I hadn't seen this one before, but the yellow lines do appear to
Yeah.
align with the platted. And you can see looks like a road, that's an access to the easement, so it's a private, intended as a private road. Now there's a possibility, I can't speak to whether this would work or not in this site, but there could be a public road here as well that could be created through a platting process. That's certainly something that we do through plats. I've talked to the city engineer about that, and he basically said, show us, if they wanted to show what that would look like. Of course, that would also have water and sewer and everything through that road as well. We use the same right of ways for both. So these are all different options. But of course, if you intend to use the lots and easements as shown, there really is no need to plan.
There is a sewer line running up towards the old concession stand over there. Through from the lift station, south of the 4-H building. It's cement culverts, I know, because I was there when we put it in. Is that one going to be abandoned then?
I believe so. I'm not the authority on that, but I think I am aware of the one you're talking about. I don't know if anyone else knows more about that than I do, but
Can
yeah.
you repeat the question?
The sewer line south of the 4-H building that goes from the road there. Up towards the old racetrack area, by the old concession stand over there.
So the
Would that-
easement that was previously approved, not this year, but in former years that was approved.
Yes.
That's the one you're referring to?
Yeah. is that
I do
gonna
not
be
believe that any easements are going to be vacated. That one is still going to remain in the ownership of the city.
Okay.
That's my current understanding at least.
okay? Not being used now, but I wonder.
Not to my knowledge.
Any other questions? Thank you so much for the insight and the information, and we might invite you back again if
You're
further
always welcome
questions.
to.
Further
Absolutely.
questions persist.
Invite me back, or if you have any questions, I can answer them on the fly too.
Great, thank you so much. As we roll into number 5, there's a couple of items, even from 3, that I guess I will share what I know about the processing and the scheduling, and then others might be able to fill in some of the blanks. As I understand it, the county will be scheduling times with representatives from the county being scheduling times to meet with our group and others to discuss the process. Is that correct, Auditor? For the budgeting process?
Yes, so the commission has chosen to have a budget committee again this year. In previous years, as works very well. So I went ahead and sent out all that information to the department heads and the commissioners. And then with the certain dates, I want to say it's 25th, June 25th, 26th, 27th, and 28th. I want to say, where we're going to be meeting here in this room and listening to the individual department heads, what changes they want to make, whether up, down, or the same. It's, at least the individual department heads have the opportunity to present at those times.
Okay.
So, and Commissioner Munson has received that email as well.
Right.
And, so yeah.
Because as I understand it, there will be the chair, vice, and our secretary that will be in attendance at those, and then bring that information back, at least that's how it was explained to me, which then kicks off the process for us here. Kind of finalize the asks and the needs or something along those lines. But you might not have been involved in all of those. So that's my understanding. I know that Commissioner Munson was going to provide a little bit more information on that, so we will kind of wait to hear from him. But that kind of kicks off item number 5, which is the budget considerations and development process. It's obviously going to be a little bit heavier of a lift for us this first time around to kind of get our feet underneath us and figure out what our needs are. I guess we could have an introductory conversation about some needs and some considerations so that we're working ahead of this as far as we can. I would kick that off with the parameters that whatever our asks are, they need to be for the betterment of the entire complex. And I know that even as I think about personal needs for each of the different stakeholders, that it might be difficult sometimes to connect the dots on what might better the entire complex. So I just want to make sure that we address the budgetary needs with that in mind, at least first and foremost. So I would love to kick off a few minutes conversation brainstorming here for some budgetary items I would put out there right away. I've heard, signage. Signage is being something that I've heard almost every person around the table bring up. But with that, I'll shut up and let you guys go.
I personally think we shouldn't, I mean, maybe the sign, but I don't think this is the year for us to go and say we want the county to budget $200,000 because we want X, Y, Z. We don't know what we want. I haven't heard what you guys are doing. Obviously, they have to budget enough to cover their $60,000 expenses, but I don't see why we would, maybe we don't even ask for the sign personally from them. I don't see why. The Missouri Valley Complex has their own money. If we want to buy $100,000 sign, I mean, obviously I know the commission has to approve it, but it can come from that budget. It doesn't need to come from the general fund budget. At all.
The money's there, you might start utilizing it. And then if there is a bigger project, like better roads or something like that.
Concession stands or.
Yeah, but I think you have a better plan for that in 2025 or, yeah, 2026, whatever, however that works.
Well, once we get through everybody talking about these are major needs, these
Next
are
year,
wants.
whatever that date will be.
you wanna
So
show.
like the budget for 2026 is where you would actually maybe be able to present something decent to the commission and say, hey, like this will benefit actual taxpayer dollars by doing this.
Yeah, I think that the request should be, taking care of the current needs and then deciding what it's gonna take over the next year to develop a plan for the actual plan. Just so that there's something there that can be accessed, you need to hire an engineer to do this or that, on just a contingency basis, knowing that it may not get spent even.
That's probably where my biggest concern is the site plan overall. What is the plan going forward? And knowing that we might run into some hurdles there.
Why would we use the money that's already the Missouri Valley Complex money? Why would we use taxpayer dollars, general fund money for that?
We still have to work on even a budget to use that money too. So, I think the conversations can definitely go together on it to identify.
My understanding is to use the Missouri Valley Fair Complex, it doesn't have to be approved at the budget. Correct? If we wanted in January of 2025 to spend $20,000 on an
And it was
engineer,
not
we just
under
have to
that
come
budget.
to the commission and ask to use that money, because it's not general fund money.
So long as it doesn't affect the amount of taxes that are levied, anybody can bring any request to the commission at any time. If they want to go ahead and use effectually savings account
Savings, yeah.
money to do so. Now, if you want to make any long-term plans or anything like that, or even year-long plans, any of those can be foiled at the decision of a commission.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it's, so long as it doesn't affect the amount that is levied, and it's only asking for for fund balance monies, not levied dollars, then that can be presented to the commission.
What dollars are in the complex fund? I don't think I've seen any document about that.
Yep, so the Missouri Valley Complex Fund is different than the Missouri Valley Complex budget.
Okay.
So the budget itself, I believe this last year for 2024, or this year for 2024 is $70,000. The Missouri Valley Complex Fund is probably sitting around 5.5 million.
Really?
And the main bulk of those dollars has been received through past years in selling parts of the land. So that fund, those funds are to be used at the discretion of the commission, at whatever they choose to do with that.
So not the current commissioners, because there's so many new ones, have done like in different years is they used the Missouri Valley Complex fund money to buy down mill levies.
Oh,
And so like that happened twice that I can think of in recent years. To buy down the mill levy for us, or for all the taxpayers of Burley County. So there would have been more, I mean, I don't know that there was ever an intention to pay that back, but.
yeah. And there's something on the long-term docket for a $5 million project, right?
No,
I've heard that number thrown out there for something.
no.
Okay.
Not supported by the commission or provided by the commission for this conflict. I know that there is an additional stakeholder, which Alan's not here, this might be what you're referring to, the egg and equestrian complex. And again, Alan can speak to that much better, but what I know of that project is they're looking to secure the land. And then looking at grants, grant applications and that sort of thing, but private, mostly basically privately funded, they're just looking to secure the land.
Yeah, the money has just sat there and sat there, because there's never been, I mean, there's been a comprehensive, like, there's a master. They the county have built a playground, could the county have done an ATV track or whatever? You know, it's just there's never been a group maybe to push it anymore. So it's just sat there for the county to use as they think. Yeah, it's a piggy bank to buy, yeah, and then, you know, eventually it could be
All
solved.
removal of bridges.
Yeah. Stuff that doesn't have anything to do with
Yeah.
where the money came from. Whether that's right or wrong.
As long as they don't have their eyes on using that for something else, then there's no reason to ask for anything beyond that. I just hope that they will approve the actual spending when it.
That's my, yeah, that would be, you know, probably where you and I were saying the same thing, but differently. And that, yeah, we have our own budget that we can, or our own fund that we can budget and spend, but it still is ultimately has to be approved by the commission. We can decide it here, and all we can do is lobby the commission as adequately as
But
possible.
I just think, just having been in the room last year during the budget being approved at the very end, I don't see how there'd be I don't know what you could present that would convince them to get enough votes to approve $100. I mean, I can't even sit here and think what we would spend $100,000 on. I mean, we need to fulfill our contract and pay our water bills or our electricity bills, but that's all
Right, and
Munson
that's-
should ask for.
Yeah,
You shouldn't be asking for.
And is the 5 million covering the interest of the 5 million in the fund covering the ongoing base cost?
So, no, I believe that the interest from that fund is going directly back to the general fund.
Okay.
Yeah, it all goes back to the general.
So it does, sort of.
yeah,
In a way,
In a way,
yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't go back into the fund is my understanding, right? It goes to the general fund.
I believe so.
Yeah,
was my understanding as well.
Yeah. So it kind of does. Helps cut the 70,000 or whatever they might spend.
Not that there's a vote to take or anything, but just taking the temperature of the room and understanding that, on a consensus that at this point, we're not looking to request anything additional from the general fund. And that we can have discussions around the table within our committee about how to address our fund and what priorities to develop from there. Okay. All right, well, we will attend the budget meetings and then report back. But part of the process to get us to know what we need out there are stakeholder presentations, and we had elected to kind of double up as we go forward so that we can get everything on the table sooner than later. I see that Tyler has his presentation pulled up for his and Marie's 4-H and extension, and then if we want to go to Bismarck Park, that's what that work.
All right. So I don't have the presentation. I guess print it out, Kevin, you got me down on that one here. You guys, what I have in front of you is just I guess a poster of what our presentation, or excuse me, our schedule of events are gonna be for this year's County Achievement Days. Actually, I'm gonna sit down, chance here, this thing advances. Okay, so in talking with NDSU Extension, Burleigh County, as well as Burleigh County 4-H, they kind of go hand in hand in so many ways. So just kind of highlight, you know, who are we when you're talking about Burleigh County Extension? As you can see up there, we have a very large office that services Burleigh County. Now, not all of those individuals that are in this slide are exclusive to Burley County, but they definitely do show that area in one way, shape, or form. So, our mission is to empower North Dakotans to improve their lives and communities through science-based education. Google, I wouldn't say is our greatest nemesis. It's actually our greatest ally because, for example, a few years ago, we got calls, hey, can I cook my turkey in my dishwasher? Which sounds absolutely ridiculous. Legit question, okay? So things like that, we're there to disprove. So, what is our major extension areas of work? And again, these are just kind of the main highlights. For me, I'm the Ag and Natural Resources agent. So I joke with people, if you wanted to live or die, you talk to me. Whether it be plants, insects, that's kind of the general area I work with. So pesticide trainings, when you guys are gonna have your budget hearing in June, we're gonna be doing farm safety camp on the complex. So that's another one of those needs. How can we make that a little bit more useful out there, which working with Kevin and Parks and Rec out there, it's been great so far as well as the county. So agriculture is a huge thing. Everybody in that area, except for probably JC, just because she does parent family education, maybe doesn't deal directly firsthand with agriculture in terms of, growing things or working with people who work in the industry, maybe parents of farmers, but by and large, it's a very big office. So agriculture, food and nutrition ties it back with agriculture, but between Shelley Kuntz, and then we also have Deb Johnson and Jessica Rivland, who work with the, people who qualify for like free and reduced lunches. So they work a lot in schools on a very regular basis. So they've got a good knowledge working with those different districts. 4-H is Annette Broyles. She's our main 4-H agent. However, all of us within that office have our own share of 4-H responsibilities. Gardening and horticulture, we're blessed in Burley County. Now we solely have Kelsey at our disposal, so to speak, to work with the thousands, and it is no joke, thousands of calls that we get in the summertime with people who have questions. What is this bug in my lawn? Why is it not growing? Especially on spruce trees. I mean, she's very much a whiz at that type of thing. So she works with those. So on the gardening and horticulture side, leadership and civil engagement, we all kind of work with that, whether it be doing some different leadership engagement type of activities in the communities, trying to make sure people are developing into the individuals we need to be as taxpayers, as well as people who are out there working for the betterment of our community. All right, so who's Burley County 4-H? I'll roll into that next section. As of yesterday, looking up numbers, we have 336 members and leaders, which is up not quite 100 from last year, but pretty darn close. So we've been very fortunate to expand that over the last couple of years. And then we're up to 18 clubs. I know there's talks of having more. And again, getting kids involved in stuff that not only getting your hands dirty, but we dive into a lot of different areas. In terms of our programming events, archery, Marie's very familiar with that as one of our main leaders and coaches. Static exhibits are one of the main things, and that is with the flyers that I gave you for our achievement days. So static events are essentially the projects that you build. And so the bottom right corner, where you see a young man interviewing with a lady with his project, that's static night, where they talk about the different things that they deal with. Showing of livestock, which there's a number of those pictures on this page in particular. Whether it be horses, small animals, pets, livestock. They also have different service events. We've done tie blankets and other things to give to the less fortunate people, working with law enforcement. We do food drives. I mean, that's just a couple of the different things. A couple nights ago, they were in the band night parade and handing out, I don't know what flowers you guys had. So
Just flowers and pots.
yeah, so doing some service things that way. Also communication arts, kids are able to get better at public speaking, doing different demonstrations, consumer decision making, making sure that they're picking, many of the right products, whether it be on a budget, whether it be a certain type of, parameter for the different nutrition issues that we are dealing with today. And then also we've got a ton of different things that we do throughout the year. Every month we have a program night. So if you're not in 4-H and you have a youth, whether it be a son, grandson, granddaughter, whatever, and you want to get involved in some kind of activity, look up on our site, Facebook, or even just call the office. We've got a wide variety of things from lure making to woodworking to making Christmas trees. So it's pretty big. And then just kind of continue on a little bit more. And last year, I have a highlight, kind of talks about what we had last year. We had 925 entries on static night alone, which is the project aspect of things from 135 kids. In terms of the animals, we had about 133 animals that were presented, from 48 different exhibitors. And, the picture on the top right is all the kids that were involved with Static Day, which every kid is involved on Static Day, whether, they're showing regular projects or record books, with record keeping through their animals throughout the year. And then on the bottom right corner is just one of the examples of a project that was sent up to the state fair. They give awards of excellence to 40 individuals that are different stakeholders, whether it be representatives, mayors, things along those lines. And of the 40, Burleigh County brought home 7, which in my mind is pretty impressive considering how many projects are up there. So we've got a really awesome group. There's a lot of our volunteers, I shouldn't say all of them, but they're doing an amazing job. And, kind of leads into the next part. What is our future? I talked about that increase from last year. We're still trying to make that program in 4-H more robust. Okay, that gets into some of the needs I'll talk about soon enough. Expanding our programming into all the communities. Okay, Burleigh County is the 2nd largest in terms of population, 13th largest in terms of overall size. And we've got 8 communities that we are reaching out to. So trying to make sure that we're not just here in Bismarck. We're going out to Driscoll, we're going out to Wing, and we're trying to expand that as much as we possibly can. And then developing or delivering, with technology and face-to-face. If COVID taught us anything, technology is essential. Face-to-face is essential. I mean, they both have to go hand in hand, or they have to work together because, not seeing somebody for a few months, face-to-face is extremely important. Being able to, reach people who can't get in face-to-face is also very important. So how can we dive into those areas? I think we've got a pretty good mix going forward, to help our progress. Now, here's our wish list. I know that was one of the major things we talked about. I didn't put the signage up there because I know we've all kind of discussed that. I did put outdoor bathrooms, and concession stands. So those are a couple of things that we have. The biggest thing is where do we put them, to make sure it works best for everybody. But in terms of 4-H and extension, biggest thing is we need a meeting room or presentation that can fit up to 60 people. Now, what we have out there now, that arena area is what we call it, the big banquet hall or whatever you want to say it is, works extremely good for fitting people in. For weddings, larger events, it works great. The acoustics in that thing are less than ideal. So really getting your message across gets to be a challenge. And so we're hoping we can find something up to 60 people. And that's the biggest thing, whether it be ag, horticulture, 4-H, something a little bit bigger to open up with great acoustics. A commercial kitchen would be something that'd be highly beneficial for us as well. What we have currently is close, but it doesn't hit the standard for what we would need. And we've had some ideas of not just for our teaching aspect of having people go home, but the other thing is, there's a lot of these people who are doing these side businesses, maybe jams or anything like that. If we could get on a rental schedule to where, hey, I've got this 2-hour block and they can have that commercial kitchen and, develop their businesses. One thing, and this is especially near and dear to my heart, is the livestock building, especially for showing or for different presentations. With livestock farm safety coming in, we're tying in more of the livestock, not just driving implements. So being out in that area to, move animals around, teach them how to properly handle them is going to be very important. But on the 4-H and show aspect, having a facility where we can have animals that are underneath some kind of shade, in their own designated area is great. And another little mini wish list I have, we're pretty urban in this county. And so if we have the opportunity for some of these kids who want to show something smaller, like say a goat or a sheep or something along those lines, maybe keep them there for a couple of months. And then the shooting range for archery, air rifle, and potentially maybe shotgun, expanding that program would be very beneficial. Again, that arena area works well for us right now. We're wishing for stuff. Hey, let's go a little bit bigger, right? So, expanding those would be great. Like I said, the concession stands, outdoor bathrooms to where people aren't trying to go back into the indoor building works quite significantly in our favor, especially with that park. We get a lot of kids that aren't 4-H kids that I've noticed out there trying to drum up conversations. So, there are people outside the public, not just up on the gardens, that are also on that complex. There's people who are seeing it, which is great. So that's kind of the real quick explanation of what we have going. Like I said, we on the extension side, we cover a wide variety of items. If we don't know who to talk to, whether it be on our specialist network, we also tie in with a lot of partners in town. Hopefully we can make that work. And on the 4-H side, from 5 to 18, you can get involved and, you know, I guess sharpen some of your skills. Any questions? Anything to add or?
You have my wish list.
Okay.
I should even.
Excellent, thank you. As a
Thank you.
person that grew up in 4-H and 4-H leader and I wouldn't be where I am today professionally and personally without 4-H. So I'm a huge supporter of both of those there. Yeah, all right. Let's move on. Kevin, I think you are up, correct?
Well, I handed on a flyer there, just everybody's had a little bit of information. We're in a couple of different hats out in the complex. You know, we manage the problem for the Cole County. We try to work all the groups the best we can to keep everybody moving in the right direction. That's the 4-H extension building, Buckstop Junction, we've been cleaning the gardens out there. Thank you. The community gardens going across and the UTV track, and then just keeping the complex up, the rodeo grounds and those type of things. And that's a big part for our staff to do that. But then the flyer there it addresses the Joanne Hetzel Memorial 4-H building that was donated to the Park District back in 2021 by the 4-H. And since then, we've tried to invest some dollars in it to really get that building to where it needs to go. And I think nothing against the 4-H, they did a great job getting the facility built years ago. And I guess our thought process was we could hopefully take this to the next level. And some of those improvements have increased the opportunities for folks to utilize that building. 4-H and Extension are one of our biggest users out there, but then it's used for a lot of weddings and fundraisers, trainings and sales events, a variety of events there. But some of the improvements we've made over the last 3 or 4 years is installed air conditioning. You know, it's a great indoor facility for the winter, but it's even busier in the summer, I think, for weddings and things like that. And air conditioning is a big part of it. We highlighted some of the bigger things. We painted the interior and installed the playground. The playground will be dedicated on June 20th. We're just in the planning stages of that. We're in the process and it should be completed this week, but we're re-roofing that whole building. So that's going to be a very nice improvement. And then we also got some grant dollars. We're going to install LED lighting in that facility here, hopefully this fall yet. So those are some of the improvements. On the right there, you can see the rentals. So the year that we first took over the building, there's 47 rentals. In 2023, it was 100.
I mean, days or weekends?
It was, okay. So some of them might be 1, 2, 3 days long, depending on the event. Some of it might have been for an evening, you know, a half a day or stuff like that. But that just kind of shows you that the usage continues to go up. We're taking reservations out into 2025 right now, so you can see 24 and 25 are still a little bit lower, but those will continue to move forward as we get closer to those years. Again, probably the other biggest part that we deal with out there directly is the community gardens. There's 138 20 by 20 plots out there, and it goes right in line with what 4-H is doing. A lot of the things that they're doing out there, people love their community gardens. I don't think they're quite full yet, so if somebody's looking for one, please let us know. But our staff is out readying that stuff this last couple of weeks so people can start planting and getting their gardens going for 2024. As far as needs, you know, we've addressed a fair amount of stuff over the last 2 or 3 years. Probably a couple of the bigger things that the message center out on Expressway, I think that would be a huge improvement. Just to advertise the complex, it kind of gets lost in the landscape there right now. And I think something along those lines might help all the groups to get more awareness that the complex is there and what's going on out there. If you go out there I was out there on a Saturday or Sunday morning one day, and there was people on the UTV track and the motocross track. There's a couple of people jogging. There was somebody playing on the playground. So there's a fair amount of activity out there, but I think we need to continue to promote that. But from our direct standpoint, we'd like to get a little more storage. We store all our tables and chairs in the actual arena. So when we have an event here, if you don't use the tables and chairs, you lose that space. So we'd like to add on some storage space for just a multitude of things. The parking, it would be beneficial for us to get more infrastructure, things like you're talking complex, I think would be nice to improve the parking area there as we have more events in the winter, snow removal and getting to the site is a little better, but those are probably the three biggest things that I see right now. It's been a great facility for us. We continue to make improvements and hopefully people will continue to utilize the buildings and the grounds.
I know I sold a lot of skins for stuff, so they'll like, you know, back in the day, man. Excellent. Any questions for? Sounds like there is a lot more going on out there than I realized. I know I've been to a couple of events out there, but I did not know when the playground went up. When did that go up?
See, finished the playground late last fall. Like I said, we're gonna have a dedication spring here.
No, if you're out, so like we're out there on Sundays for archery. There are dogs running, there's sometimes people who are putting their horses, they board their horses out there because they're driving through. It's pretty amazing, you know, when those are just like what you see when you're just out there. You know, those aren't even planned events, right? It's just usage. It's sort of interesting.
That shouldn't be running loose out there.
Well, we have to talk.
City limits.
I know. So sweet.
Saw one yesterday on Sunday running her dog on the pavement. She didn't like me too much afterwards.
Any questions or comments for either of the presentations before we go on through to the next item? But that gives me a great transition. I love transitions into item number 7, upcoming stakeholder events and developing a master schedule. We had talked at the last meeting to send events to Mary Singer in order to get on the website. I would also 100% volunteer myself to be a contact point as well. To let me know, you know, the ribbon cutting ceremony for the playground thing and all of the, you know, the rentals. Obviously, you wouldn't want everybody's personal wedding or that sort of thing to be on the calendar. But if there are events, you know, the Static Achievement Days, the Livestock Achievement Days, that sort of things, all great opportunities to promote out there. So be sure to be sending Mary those things. Like I said, if you want one point of contact, that and I loved information, feel free to send to me as well, and I can make sure that those get coordinated with Mary. I think that was appointment item number 7. Our next meeting is scheduled for June 5th. That is a Wednesday, one of the few Wednesdays that we have for the rest of the year, but Wednesday, June 5th here at noon. Are there any other items for discussion or the good of the order? All right. We nailed it. 1 o'clock. And I will entertain a motion for the meeting to be adjourned. I really need to think of that.
I will move to adjourn the meeting.
All right, second. All in favor? Aye. Meeting adjourned.